Hey, welcome back to Karen's Paper Craft. Thank you very much for watching. Today's video is for a card that I made for a blog hub, and this month's theme was retiring products, and of course one of the products that is retiring is Timeless Tulips. Now don't be baffled, this is the Dutch title, Tijdloze Tulpen, Timeless Tulips in English, and well, I've loved it. I'm sad to see it go, but there is a load of pretty new products coming in, so it's not too bad, and I thought I would let this go out with a bang, and I've made a beautiful card with it with a faux technique. See how pretty it is? Well, if you want to find out how you can make this, keep watching. You can see the lovely shine on the tiles, and I'll show you how to do that. First of all, let's go into the dimensions of this card. I have here a piece of thick basic white, which is 11 inches by 4 1/4, which I'm going to score later on at 5 1/2. You want some thick basic white of 3 1/2 inches by 4 inches. You want some night of navy, which is, now I've forgotten my size, 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and you want a scrap piece of cardstock. This just happens to be basic white. It could be any colour, and I'll show you later on what I use that for. So first I'm going to stamp on the background of my card, and for that I'm putting it on my grid paper, and at the 5 1/2 inch mark I'm putting down a mask. Let me just get it on straight. So this is the 5 1/2. I love my grid paper to work like this. Okay. So now I'm going to stamp on this half of the card, and I'm going to stamp off as well because I want the colour to be light, and I'm stamping in Misty Moonlight, and this is the tulip that I'll be using from the retiring stamp set. This is the one. I'll also be using that one and that one, a stem and a leaf. So I'm going to score this at 5 1/2. And then fold it. And you could see that I didn't stamp all over the card front. There's no need to, because you're going to put the panel over later. So this is ready for later on. Then I'm going to show you how you can make the tiles. It looks complicated. It is not, but it does require a bit of extra work. I'm going to show you how to make the tiles. For that you need your piece of thick basic white, which is 3 1/2 by 4 inches, and with a long side top I'm going to mark a border, a 1/2 inch border, that is so that you can hold on to the card while embossing, otherwise it'll be just too difficult. Now then, I'm going to do some scoring, and I'm using my Simply Scored for this because you want a really deep groove, that's important. So with the long side top, so with this marked edge towards the right, you're going to score at 1 3/4, and I'm going over a couple of times, and I'm using the bigger end. There's a small end and a larger end, and a 1/4 turn, and again you score at 1 3/4. Now it looks funny like this because it's almost as if the squares aren't equal, but if you just think away that edge, you see, you have 4 equal squares. Then I'm going to do my stamping, but before I can do the stamping I need a couple of masks. I have 2 already. I need a 3rd one, because the large one and the smaller one I need an extra mask, and I'm going to stamp in Misty Moonlight. So you just stamp it onto some masking paper and then fussy cut this. I I use masking a lot as a technique. I like it, and to my great joy I discovered that we're going to get our own masking paper in the new catalogue. That's the 2022-2023 catalogue, and it will be available to everybody from the 3rd of May this year, so 3rd of May 2022. And you can see, I'll put it on a piece of white. You see, I've cut slightly inside the image. That means that you get a better fit on your stamped image and you don't get too much of a white halo around it. So another mask here. I'll remove the backing paper and I can use it in a minute. And there we are. So these are ready. Okay, I'm ready to do my stamping, and I suppose it'll be okay on this one, this piece of paper. Let me just put my mask over there a bit. I'm going to stamp off as well the first time around because I want some of the tulips to be light in colour and others can be a bit darker. And the trick with this technique is not to push down too hard on your stamp because you don't want the ink to go into the grooves. So I hope it works all right. I've tried it and tested it, but you never know. When filming, things might go wrong. So I'm stamping off, and then this first tulip goes onto the cross lines. And I'm not pushing down very hard. I'm just giving a very light press so that the ink can get into the paper, hopefully leaving my score lines free of ink. Yes, that is great, isn't it? Now, then I'm going to stamp the smaller tulip first, stamping off again. This one goes slightly off the paper. Again, I'm pressing but not pushing. Don't know if that makes sense to you. Hope it does. And here too, another one across the line, pressing but not really pushing. The second generation of stamps is going to be a bit more difficult because you have to stamp over the mask as well. So occasionally you do get some ink. Oh dear, I forgot to stamp off there. Well, I'm leaving it like that. Why not? Then I'm going to put my masks on. You see what I mean? I'll try to correct this. Oh yes. I'll put a leaf over that, a stalk. Oh dear. Now then, I'm trying to correct this error. I'll put my stamp back over. It's photopolymer so you can see where the stamp went, and then I'm just pushing with my fingers from underneath where the mask is. Well, it's slightly better. Okay, it's stuck to the stamp, so now I can do the same thing. Lift it up and then push where the mask is. Well, that's better, isn't it? Okay, and a final one. Well, it's off the stamp anyway, it's off the paper anyway. No more. That's okay. Now I'm going to stamp the stem, and I'm going to put one stem on top of my little mistake. See if I can get it over, and it still looks good. Oh yes. There's a bit of white there, but even if you look on those old Delft tiles, you see that sometimes, well, let's say my tile's misfired. I'm keeping it like this. Now then, how do you do the glazing technique? You use your Versamark ink and you use the clear Stampin Emboss Powder. Now you can see why I had the edge there, because I can hold onto my card stock and still press my Versamark over. Go over it a couple of times. Do make sure that you have put Versamark over the pencil line, and then I can put my emboss powder over. If you want to, you can use your scoring tool again and get some of the embossing powder out of the scored line, very gently, carefully. And tap it off. And there's no embossing powder there. And then you do your embossing. Make sure your heat gun is nice and hot before you do this. Leave it to cool for a bit and you repeat the process. This then has to cool down, really cool down, because it's otherwise it'll be because otherwise it'll still be sticky. Okay, try that on a drink or two. It'll still be too sticky. So I'm going to leave this, and when it has cooled down, I'll be back. This has now sufficiently cooled down. I'm going to cut off my strip on the right, so just put the pencil lines onto the groove and cut, and you have the panel. Now this paper curls a lot, so it's very difficult to get it onto your mask in one go, and that is where my scrap piece of cardstock comes in. This happens to be thick basic white. You could also use a coloured cardstock, and I'm going to first adhere my panel to that piece of cardstock and cut away the edges. It makes it sturdy and less curly. And I have a tip for you. Use something heavy on top. I've taken my largest block, and sorry for the noises, but people keep moving house here, and there's no way I could film because they're at it day and night, weekends, evenings. So I'll just do my filming and hope the noise isn't too loud. There's not too much noise. See? Put your block on so that the ink can adhere. Then I can bring in my piece of 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. First I'm going to trim this. And now it's much easier to handle and get on your mat straight. And again I'm putting my block on top. Meanwhile I can tie the ribbon on, and you need about, well, I had 16 inches yesterday, but that was a really tight fit, so I'm taking a couple inches more, 18, 19 inches. This ribbon is going out of the collection as well, which I think is a shame. It's the Playful Pets Trim Combo Pack. I love that ribbon. Well, okay, so I'm putting my card over there. Now then, this one in. Put your ribbon in. Oops. Butterfingers. Then make sure it is in straight. There we go. Equal length ends. Yep. And I'm using a pair of tweezers as an extra pair of hands. It's much easier to tie the ribbon then, because there's this stitching inside. It's a bit more stiff than you would normally expect ribbon to be. And now I think I have plenty of ribbon. Oh well, there you go. Let me just pull it through. Yes, why don't you do some more drilling? Okay, and now I can move my ribbon a bit if I want to. A bit higher, a bit lower, and a bit more to the right. That, I want it in the white space between the tulips. I'll just talk more loudly. Shout at you, sorry. That is where I want it. Okay, now then, I'm going to put my tulips up on dimensionals. So, there you have it. Timeless tulips, goodbye. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.